Greetings, this is the latest from Mckoys News Center. During the murder trial, a witness testified that Beachy Stout provided me with firearms and mobile phones to dispose of. This morning, a former employee of Portland businessman Everton Beachy Stout McDonald provided testimony, revealing that he had received instructions from his ex-boss to dispose of an illegal firearm and destroy 6 cell phones shortly after the tragic murder of Mr. McDonald's wife. Among the phones, 2 were reportedly personal devices belonging to Mr. McDonald, while one was said to have been owned by Dendelin Bubba Minot, a contract killer who had already pleaded guilty to the murder of Tonia McDonald and received a sentence of 19 years and 10 months. Minot had previously testified that Beachy Stout had promised him $3 million in exchange for murdering his wife but had subcontracted the actual killing to another individual. The lifeless body of Tonia McDonald, bearing signs of burning and a slashed throat, was discovered in her vehicle, which had been set on fire along a remote road in Sherwood Forest, Portland, on July 20, 2020. Both Beachy Stout and his co-accused, Oscar Barnes, are presently on trial for the alleged murder of the 32-year-old businesswoman. The witness, who described himself as Mr. McDonald's trusted aide, recounted that in the week following Tonia's murder, Beachy Stout had handed him a firearm, saying something to the effect of, "Dispose of this, I have no use for it." When asked what he had done, the witness replied, "I placed it in my knapsack and asked myself where I should discard it, to which he instructed me to throw it into the sea." He admitted to complying with his ex-boss' directive. The witness also provided details about the phones that were destroyed following Tonia's murder. When asked how many phones were involved, he replied, "I damaged 2 phones that Mr. McDonald had given to Bubba's original phone, 1 yellow phone that Mr. McDonald had for himself, his black phone that he always carried, and one that he had purchased for the shop's use." The witness testified that he destroyed the first cell phone on the same night that Tonia was murdered, recounting how Mr. McDonald came downstairs to the shop, removed the SIM card, and instructed him to destroy this. Furthermore, the witness recalled collecting 2 phones from Bubba within 2 weeks after Tonia's murder and subsequently destroying them. He explained that Mr. McDonald had informed him that Bubba would deliver the phones and had handed him a phone to give to Bubba. According to the witness, when he collected the first phone and gave it to Mr. McDonald, his boss had removed the SIM card, broken it, and told him to destroy the phone. He described using a stone to destroy one of the phones and setting others on fire by the sea. The witness indicated that Mr. McDonald had never provided any explanation for why the phones needed to be destroyed. In his testimony, the witness also informed the court that he later assisted the police in locating the sites where he had burned the phones, disposed of the illegal firearm, hidden a container with a corrosive substance, and retrieved a gun at a nightclub, as well as returned a malfunctioning gun. 6 out of the 15 members of the Klansman gang have been sentenced, while the remaining 9 will learn their punishment today. Trial Judge Chief Justice Brian Sykes declared on Monday that the notorious Klansman gang, under the leadership of an unrepentant man who had no qualms about taking lives repeatedly, operated with what he described as a culture of impunity. Chief Justice Sykes handed down combined prison sentences totaling 76 years to 6 of the 15 convicted gang members. Nevertheless, one of the 6, Dylan McLean, expressed his disdain for the judge's assertions just before being taken away to serve his 7 years and 3 months in prison for being part of a criminal organization and 2 counts of facilitating serious offenses by a criminal organization. The 27-year-old McLean, reportedly suffering from a mental condition and placed on suicide watch, scoffed at the judge's remarks, saying, "These shackles can't hold me, I'm still young, you know." He made this declaration to no one in particular during one of the court breaks and readily repeated his words when asked, but he then fell silent. The remaining 9 convicts are set to receive their sentences today. Justice Sykes, in his sentencing statement, emphasized that based on the evidence presented during the trial, the convicted individuals would have continued their criminal activities had they not been arrested. He justified his decision to impose custodial sentences by stating that there was no indication that these individuals had any intention of leaving behind a life of crime. In the case of gang leader Andre Blackman, Brian, who was sentenced to 39.5 years behind bars. Chief Justice Sykes emphasized that Bryan, convicted for leading the criminal gang and 7 other counts related to facilitating serious offenses like murder and arson between 2015 and 2019, was the prime mover and architect responsible for at least 5 deaths resulting from shootings and arson he ordered. Referring to the evidence, Justice Sykes asserted, "The cumulative evidence of the indicted counts as well as the unindicted clearly shows that Mr. Bryan was the leader of the organization." He further noted that some killings occurred in broad daylight without anyone wearing masks, illustrating a culture of impunity where violence could occur anytime, anywhere. Regarding Bryan's commitment to a life of crime, the Chief Justice stated, "The evidence showed that Bryan did not intend to give up his life of crime." Bryan reacted physically to this pronouncement, doubling over and clutching his stomach before regaining composure. Justice Sykes emphasized that the sentences were intended to disable Mr. Bryan from engaging in such activities for an extended period, given the consistent violence displayed by the gang. He declared, "What the evidence shows is that Mr. Bryan was a man of extreme violence who was not afraid of having people killed again and again and again." Bryan, dressed in a slate gray shirt and striped pants, kept his head down for most of the hearing and, after his sentencing, left the dock without looking back, wearing an expressionless face. The other convicted gang members, Tom Rick Taylor, Michael Whiteley, Brian Morris, and Lamar Simpson, received sentences of 9.5 years, 16 years, 18 years and 6 months, and 1 year and 6 months, respectively. Today, the remaining convicts, namely Stephanie, Mama, Cole Christie, Ted Prince, Joshua Blake, Andre Golding, Tariq James, Joseph McDermott, Fabian Johnson, Roll Taylor, and Jermaine Robinson, are expected to receive their sentences. All the convicted gang members were tried under the Criminal Justice Act of 2014, which allows for substantial prison terms but does not mandate specific minimum sentences for these offenses. The Crown had previously stated that these individuals comprised the Blackman faction of the St. Catherine-based gang, each playing various roles such as killers, drivers, lookout men, gunsmiths, and foot soldiers. The trial began with 33 accused individuals on September 20, 2021. Subscribe to Mckoys News for breaking news and updates.